June camp season is underway for Ohio State. June commitment season started one day early. These are Snap Judgments. They're brought to you by Buyers Auto. That's Bill Landis. I'm Austin Ward. Jeremy Birmingham. What happened on the recruiting trail to kick off camp season?
Bo Jackson committed to Ohio State on Tuesday night. Funny enough, he had told me on Monday that he was still planning to take his trip to Alabama, would let me know if anything changed. And he sent me a message on Twitter about 4:30 on Tuesday and said, something's changed. There's news coming tonight. I didn't get that message until after he committed because I was on my hands and knees scrubbing my garage. But that's what changed. What changed was, oops, I'm not going there. And he pulled the trigger and committed to Ohio State. Obviously important for the Buckeyes to get something moving on offense in this class because, believe it or not, in a 13-person class right now, ranked number 2 in the country according to Rivals.com, there's only 4 offensive players committed, which is the inverse of how things always work for the Buckeyes. Normally it's 9 offensive guys and 4 defensive commits at this time of year. So one of the top 5 players in the state of Ohio, 6'1.5", 6'2", 210-pound running back, linebacker. He's a player that is not complete by any stretch, like most high school juniors aren't, but dealt with a labrum issue as a junior that really kept him from playing a lot of offense, which ironic considering he's being recruited as a running back and played more defense. I'm not a doctor, but I do wonder, is it easier to hit people with a torn labrum or be hit by people with a torn labrum? I assume hitting someone because you can control it.
Because you're controlling it? Yeah. You know that the pain is coming?
Yeah. So
I bet both don't feel great.
Yeah. So he played.
I would do neither.
Right. He played through his junior season with that labrum issue. Had a surgery recently to get that remedied for heading into college. But big win for Carlos Locklyn. He's a player that Ohio State has recruited for a long time. It was rather tepid, however, when Tony Alford was here. Alford had seemed to prioritize Marquise Davis in the state over Bo, but
how'd that work out?
Not great.
Sorry.
He's committed to Kentucky, not Michigan. So Carlos
didn't really work out for current Tony
and,
Alford's job or former Tony Alford's job.
Either way, not great. Carlos Locklyn had a really good relationship with Bo Jackson when he was recruiting him for Oregon. So Ryan Day and Locklyn being the duo there really sealed the deal.
Yeah, what have you made about the first, month and a half for Carlos Locklyn, Bill?
It's pretty impressive, right? You got that vibe from him, I thought, when we talked to him at the podium, right? He's obviously a very engaging person, serious/intimidating, I think at times too, but you could definitely see how he would connect with players rather easily, and I think this is a tremendous sign of that, right? Carlos Locklyn has not been here all that long, so I would imagine the majority of this commitment is carryover from the relationship that was built while Carlos Locklyn was at Oregon and not something that picked up over the last 2 months or so. So I think that bodes well for his future here, right? And it seems like he's pretty aggressive about getting the guys that he wants and forging those relationships rather quickly and forging them in a way that is really meaningful. So if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm pretty encouraged, I think, by what I've seen from Carlos Locklyn thus far. It's been pretty good.
I would imagine he's also just extremely excited that he can be in a state where you have a player like Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
So you don't have to try to convince someone to go 3,000 miles across the country. It will make his job a lot easier. Ohio State is a team that has the ability to recruit easier than almost anyone in the country, but recruiting a player from in-state is almost always a layup. And this was probably a layup in the sense of it's an in-state running back with an Ohio State offer. But Georgia and Alabama were very real in this recruitment. He did take an official visit to Georgia 2 weeks before visiting Ohio State. And so there was a lot of buzz in Athens that they thought they were going to pull in and pull off the upset. I don't know why they had that buzz, to be honest. I never felt it. Nobody here was ever worried about it. So so you don't want to downplay any commitment, but it is one that you almost had to have because they want 2 or 3, maybe 3 running backs in this class if they can do it. And Bo Jackson is certainly the layup of that group. So now you have that, and you can spend the next 2 weeks on Isaiah West from Philadelphia St. Joe's Prep and Jordan Davison from Mater Dei out in California. And if you could wrap up those guys, then Carlos Locklyn can coast.
Can coast to the finish line?
Not bad.
It's not just the in-state recruiting being obviously helpful and beneficial for Carlos Locklyn. But even on Wednesday at the Woody Berm, I talked to him a little bit before it was going on. He was like, well, at Oregon, and he loved his time at Oregon. It's like, well, we had to go to these mega camps. Like, they didn't have a bunch of people flocking to Eugene for hands-on, up-close evaluation. And even if maybe Wednesday specifically wasn't a huge day for Ohio State at running back and for Carlos Locklyn, maybe a couple years down the road, like, it's the advantages for Ohio State and for Carlos Locklyn are not just that he's in Ohio. Like, it's what comes with being in Ohio that really elevates it, I think, for him.
Well, Chip Kelly was talking on Wednesday as we were out here preparing for camp, and he's talking about how crazy it is to be at a place that has 6 practice fields. And he's like, that's just not normal everywhere. And Ohio State is in a class almost of its own when it comes to what they can offer a recruit. And so when you get a player like Jackson, who, again, it's expected that he would pick them, but they still put their best foot forward. And I don't know that there's a group in the country that does official visits better than Ohio State in the way that they do it, the amount of time that they spend with the kids and their families on those trips. It's not, there are a lot of times, a lot of places where kids come into town and then they hang out with players all weekend and they're out at the clubs. And like, that is not, that's part of what they do here. They certainly want people to fit in with the players, but it is designed to really show a different level of care and concern and intimacy than anywhere else. And it pays off.
Is that different now, Berm, for in-state kids? Like, it just seemed like we always sort of took them for granted. And it does feel like even if you're a kid like Bo Jackson, who I think anyone probably would have projected eventually he was going to pick Ohio State, like, you still have to put the time in, right? You can't. It's not as much of a layup, I guess, as it used to be. That was really impressive about it for me. It was like, clearly Carlos Locklyn had done so much in his time at Oregon that, like, this happened so quickly here. Because I don't think if that was a new relationship, maybe a month or two down the road, maybe sometime in the season, they still get Bo Jackson to commit here. But I feel like more and more that Ohio State almost has to recruit in-state kids like they're out of state because they have so many more options, and those other programs that aren't in Ohio are just more reachable now than they used to be.
And it's a situation where the out-of-state programs know that Ohio State will look for / aim for a hometown discount on the NIL front. And those other schools are going over the top to say, hey, you're more valuable to us. And that's just not the case. But between NIL, between everyone on TV every weekend, like, you don't have to play at Ohio State if you dream of playing college football just because you're from Ohio. Bo, I think the relationship with Carlos Locklyn was very important and instructive in getting to this point as quickly as it did. But ultimately, Ryan Day has made sure and made no bones about it with Jackson and his family that, like, Ryan Day has prioritized Bo Jackson for a year plus. I don't know, and it's not to knock Tony Alford because everyone has their own personal pecking list. Yeah. If Ryan Day ultimately would not have decided which running back they take, but Day has been very, very at the front of that relationship and that recruitment, even when maybe at times Tony Alford was not as aggressive as he was with other players. So I think that went a long way. And then you add Locklyn, who was recruiting him very hard, but was very unlikely to win that battle in Oregon, and now you have a perfect match.
Berm, you mentioned a couple names there for Ohio State with the rest of the running back class. They're looking for 3, is that correct?
They would love 3. The question is that realistic? They're going to need to add 3 running backs to this roster. Maybe 2 of them end up being high school guys and 1 ends up being a transfer. But if you look ahead, you're losing Travion Henderson, you're losing Quinshon Judkins, and then you have Sam Williams Dixon
freshmen
and James Peoples. So
it's a pretty enticing room, I would think.
You have to have 3 guys, 3 new bodies in that room. Isaiah West, as I mentioned, from Philadelphia St. Joe's Prep, will be here the weekend of the 14th. He was a recent Kentucky decommitment. Feel pretty confident that one will go Ohio State's direction probably that weekend. And then you swing for the fences with Jordan Davison, who Rivals has as the number 1 running back in the country. Interesting rankings for him. Like, I've seen him ranked as low as number 19 running back in the country. And I, as always, I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I don't know that anyone in this class would be like a surefire slam dunk other than Harlem Berry, who's committed to LSU and from Baton Rouge. Like, I don't think that there's a guy that you can look at in this class and be like, that, rubber stamp a all-pro type of running back. So it does require a little bit of nuance and understanding which guys you want and who's the best fit. Turbo Rogers, Anthony Rogers, he's an Alabama commitment. He visited last week. He's a guy that more of an all-purpose back, kind of a speed
Well, his name's
guy.
Turbo.
His name's Turbo.
Yeah, he's more of a scat back. And then you have Shakai Mills-Knight from Baylor School in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He's on the list, but he hasn't visited yet. He's supposed to be here sometime this month. So it's a very small group that they're choosing from right now, and it'll be interesting if Davison ends up at Oregon, which is very likely. Like it's Ohio State or Oregon. I think that there's some momentum for the Ducks, but like then we'll see if Locklyn actually starts expanding the board, which he has not done since he got here.
Is there anything to, like, because landing 3 sounds like a pretty difficult proposition, but they're going to show their recipe for showcasing 2 very good running backs this fall. I think, is there any thought in the building that that's going to help them eventually?
I don't know that that's being like posited or used as a part of the recruiting pitch, but I would imagine when they get these commitments, whether it's 2 or 3 in the summer, and they will be pretty much done at the position, the efforts by other teams around the country to pull someone and say, hey, you're not going to get the ball there, will be bolstered by turning on the film come September.
Yeah.
Well, if they're looking for 3, they've already got the first commit in the fold here. Bo
Lamar
Jackson.
Michael Jackson, nicknamed Bo. Lamar Jackson, Michael Jackson, Bo Jackson.
That's
no pressure.
That's the trifecta.
Do they consider calling him Thriller? Because I would have called him Thriller.
It's a lot of name cachet.
I mean, maybe try Turbo.
Turbo. I believe it's taken.
Turbo. Got it?
Turbo. Got it.
Now we're there. Yeah, that's a good place to wrap it up on Snap Judgments. They're brought to you by Byers Auto, Ohio State with a June commitment. I have a suspicion that there will be more, and we'll talk about it on the show right here. He's Bill Landis. That's Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. We'll talk to you later.